Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Spring Bread Sourdough. I figured I would hop on and do a little feeding for my starter for a few loaves that I've got to make in the next few days. I'm off for my my regular job, and I am going to be baking some soft sourdough dinner rolls, some jalapeno cheddar, and I'm actually going to make a video of my method doing the jalapeno cheddar. But I just wanted to get on here and show you all what I do for my feeding. I pulled this. This is half of what I pulled out of the refrigerator. As you can see, it's a little bit, my lighting isn't the best today. It's a little bit runny, thin, not super thin, but I already stirred it up, and I actually split it, and I already made one container. I had 380 grams of starter left from my last bake. I don't even know why I had that much left over, but I'm gonna make up for it this time and with the bakes, and I need right around 700 grams of starter for what I've got to bake tomorrow. And so this is 180 grams. I'm just gonna tear out my scale with another container that I use for my starter to get active. Anyway, I pulled this out of the refrigerator, and I did check it. It had just a little bit of liquid on the top of it. They say hooch. I don't think it's hooch. Hooch is when it turns black and it's really crazy looking. This was just kind of a light colored separation, liquid on top. If you want to call it hooch, I guess you can, but you'll know it if it's hooch because it smells like straight up alcohol, like drinking like fermented. You're gonna probably get sick if you drink it. Anyway, I split it up. I had 380 grams. I stirred it a little bit, split it into two containers, and because I didn't want to, it wouldn't fit in one for sure. So anyway, I stirred that up, split it up. Now I have 190 grams of starter in this one. I started with 190 in that. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see my scale. Well, anyway, believe me, there's 190 grams. Okay, so now I'm just going to tear my scale. And I've talked about this before. A lot of people give a lot of backlash about using bottled water. I don't have a purifier here, and my faucet, my tap water, is extremely chlorinated where we live. So I choose to get bottled water, and I just get the spring water, and it performs beautifully. So back at it, 190. I went ahead and I tear my scale. I'm going to add 190 of the water. I'm just going to do a 1:1:1 ratio because my starter smelled just sweet and lovely. It was just deflated, just didn't have any action going on. So I'm adding, wow, 190, perfect. Wow, that's crazy. But I am going to I'm so sorry. I worked all day and my mind is not all the way with it. So I added my 190 to that. This is how I do it. I always add my water and my starter, and I give it a nice stir. Just to, and especially if it's still got a little bit of activity going with the bubbles and all that, and sometimes it's a little bit thick, I always mix the water and starter together, and then I add my flour to it. Okay. But as I was saying a while ago, I'm sorry, it was sweet, it smelled great. I didn't feel like there was any need to do like a 1:2:2 ratio or a 1:3:3. I do that if my starter's been in the refrigerator for a little bit longer. You know, it's been about 3 or 4 days since I've messed with my starter. Since I made bread, I just put what I had left over back into the refrigerator, and now so today I had just pulled that out. As soon as I got off work, I'm gonna feed this. It's 190 grams of flour. Go ahead and tear that out again. I guess I could have just doubled it, and I do that sometimes, but here we go. But yeah, I didn't feel like I needed, it smelled great, and it was fairly smooth. It didn't have any of those like those translucent type bubbles on the top or anything like that. It was just all flat down in the container. Smelled great, had a sweet smell. So I said, I think it's probably going to be okay if I just go ahead and give this its regular 1:1:1 ratio feeding. I went just a little bit over, but I don't worry about that on the flour. I like for my starter to be a little bit on the thick side. So I'm going to move this out of the way so I can move it here so you can see. Okay. Get this nice and incorporated. After I mess it a little bit, I always make a mess when I'm stirring my starter. Okay. Scrape it from the sides, the bottom. As you can see, it's getting that really thick consistency now that I've stirred that in. I just like to get all of everything wet in here. I don't want any dry pieces. Like I said in one of my other videos, I don't really, if I miss some chunks or something in there, I don't really worry about it. If you've got a few dry pieces, it's not going to kill your starter. It's not going to mess up anything, because as it feeds, as your starter feeds on this flour and food, it changes the whole consistency of this, and a little bit of just clumps of flour, like I said, it's not going to hurt anything. So this is kind of what I look for. Pretty much a thicker than a pancake batter, about a brownie consistency is where we're at. Okay, can you see that? But that's what I do. This is my 1:1:1 ratio feed. I have, now that will affect your hydration level if you do a different type of feed. A lot of people are doing a eyeball feed and that. I really like to stick to using my scale, giving it the kind of feed I want, because that, if you say do a ratio of I'm gonna call it a 1:1:2:3 or a 1:3:5 ratio feeding, where you're giving it a lot more flour than your water, you are messing with your hydration level when you do that in your loaves. And I hear a lot of people talk about how long it takes to bulk ferment, how long it takes to get there, or it's super sticky, or it's just a dough ball and they can't do stretch and folds or anything. They can't do anything with it. So when you do those off feedings, when it comes to your starter, for instance, I have 180 starter. I did 180 water, or sorry, I'm so sorry, 190 starter, 190 water, and I did 190 flour. Say for instance, I wanted to do, I can't do the math right now, but say I wanted to do the a 1, 2, 3, I would, the hydration would be completely off, because you want those equal amounts of hydration for what your flour is. You want that 50-50 type ratio. And then that, it's just much easier to figure and everything. I know that there's people out there that can do that, all you math wizards and stuff like that. Or Tom from the Sourdough Journey, he's great at figuring those, but I like to keep it as simple as possible when I do my feeding. Here's my other one. So I try to keep it, like I said, I'll do a 1-2-2 or a 1-3-3, as long as my water and my flour are at the same ratio. I'm good with that. But anyway, so this is my starter. Like I said, I've got, so now I have the, oh, I'm gonna have, it was a long day. It was a long day at work. So, okay, so I have 567 grams of starter in that, and 579. I was a little bit off on my, but I don't worry about those few little grams. But yeah, so I'm going to leave these sitting out on the counter. Like I said, I need enough for 7 loaves. I'm going to have some left over, and I like to do that because it never fails. Someone will call me or message me or send me a Snapchat or somewhere and say, hey, can I get a loaf of bread for tomorrow or the next day? And I'll be like, yeah, that way I don't have to start any more starter. But, well, you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow with the jalapeno cheddar. Thank you.